At the onset of the New 52 era, Superman encountered a survivor of Krypton who turned out to be his adoptive brother, completely unaware of how differently Kryptonians perceive the legacy of their world. This was a time when DC Comics underwent a significant transformation, presenting a younger and grittier version of the iconic Man of Steel. In this period, Superman was notably less seasoned and exhibited a more aggressive demeanor compared to his earlier iterations. Following a fierce battle against the formidable Wildstorm supervillain Hellspawn, Superman found himself at a crossroads, feeling compelled to elevate his power levels to confront future threats effectively. Little did he know that the impending menace would come in the form of another survivor from Krypton, Hal, who happened to be Kal-El's adoptive brother. Hal, a character firmly embedded in the Superman mythos, assumed the role of a formidable antagonist, particularly fixated on the Super family, which included Superman, Superboy, and Supergirl. Like these iconic characters, Hal hailed from the immensely potent alien lineage of Kryptonians, but what set him apart was his utter lack of restraint and his unwavering commitment to his cause, no matter how ruthless it might seem. It later emerged that Hal was not a conventional Kryptonian. Instead, he was a twisted creation, a clone amalgamated from multiple strands of Kryptonian DNA, burdened with false memories, which really is an ironic twist considering his strong aversion to clones. Debuting in Supergirl Volume 6, issue number 13 in 2012, Hal was classified as a modern-age villain, a characterization that brought forth a multifaceted and darker dimension to his character. Unlike traditional comic book villains such as Darkseid, who revel in their malevolence, Hal did not perceive himself as inherently evil. His complex goals and motivations added depth to his character, offering a stark contrast to the more straightforward antagonists of the DC universe. In this video, we will exclusively focus on the origin story of Hal and get a further understanding of his character run in the annals of the DC universe. So without wasting another moment, let's get right to it. Who exactly is Hal? What were his true intentions on Earth? Hal's character within the DC Comics is deeply rooted in the complex dynamics of Kryptonian society and his own misperceptions about his true identity. Born on Krypton as one of several clones, Hal was led to believe that he was a natural-born Kryptonian, a belief that directly contradicted Kryptonian society's vehement condemnation of clones as abominations. Ironically, Hal was raised to despise clones despite being one himself, although to be fair, he was completely unaware of his true origin. Hal was in fact an illegal clone created from the genetic material of several Kryptonians and raised under the false belief that he was naturally born. This contradiction between his upbringing and true nature created a complex internal struggle, but his life took a significant turn when he was taken in by a renowned scientist named Jor-El, who was actually the biological father of Kal-El, aka Superman. Jor-El rose to be a father figure to Hal, who was genuinely attached to the family, and was also equally nurtured by Jor-El's wife, Lara Lorvan. This guy actually believed that he was working as a space explorer alongside these great scientists, which further deepened his emotional connection to them. As Krypton faced its imminent destruction, Jor-El constructed a prototype spaceship, entrusting Hal with a critical mission. Hal's task was twofold: to protect Krypton's rich history and knowledge among the stars, and to ensure the safe passage of the prototype rocket carrying a newborn Kal-El, aka Superman, to Earth. This mission was not without its perils, but Hal's successful journey validated the safety of the trip for Jor-El's son. But Hal's arrival on Earth occurred 27 years after Kal-El made it to the planet. With his mission to preserve Krypton's legacy, Hal observed the Kryptonians in the Hal on Earth storyline, who had preceded him to Earth, including Kal-El, who was now Superman, Kara Zor-El, who went by the alias Supergirl, and Kon-El, aka Superboy, who was a Kryptonian human hybrid clone. However, his disdain for clones and his distorted beliefs about Kryptonian purity led to conflicts with Superboy, as he viewed Connor Kent as a deviation from the Kryptonian ideal. Hal's carefully maintained facade crumbled when he made a bold move to eliminate Kon-El, recognizing him as a mere clone rather than a true Kryptonian. Despite Kon-El's escape, Ha'el relentlessly pursued him, ultimately tracking him down in New York. Even with the assistance of the Teen Titans, Superboy found himself outmatched by Ha'el's invulnerable abilities. It should be noted that in Ha'el's perception, Connor Kent's clone status was a stark deviation from the Kryptonian ideal, fueling his deep-seated belief that clones were man-made abominations. This prejudice, rooted in the negative social lessons of Krypton, intensified his determination to deal with Superboy. Ha'el's attack left Superboy incapacitated, and he was subsequently abducted by Ha'el, who believed that Superboy could play a pivotal role in his grand plan for Earth, as he grappled with his distorted sense of duty and identity, all while exhibiting a ruthless determination to fulfill his vision for Krypton's resurgence on Earth. Ha'el determined, after a thorough analysis, that his most promising ally in fulfilling his mission to resurrect Krypton was Kara Zor-El, aka Supergirl. He believed that Kal-El had become too influenced by the ways of Earth to be of any significant help, although Ha'el believed he could still be redeemed. Gradually, Ha'el introduced himself to Supergirl, and despite her initial wariness, opened to his promise of reviving their homeworld, as she grew up in Krypton and was emotionally attached to everything she had lost, unlike Superman or Superboy, who had never witnessed Krypton in its full glory. So, in an act of goodwill, he used his powers to grant her the ability to communicate in English. Now, Ha'el's formal introduction to Superman took place in Metropolis Centennial Park, where he attempted to explain his mission to his little brother. However, Superman remained skeptical and refused to accept Ha'el's story about restoring Krypton. In an attempt to prove his loyalty to the House of El, Ha'el intended to execute his prisoner, Superboy, whom he considered an illegitimate member of the El family. However, Superman intervened just in time to prevent this execution. Disheartened by Kal's refusal to share his vision for their planet, Ha'el escaped to the Fortress of Solitude, where he reprogrammed its systems for his own purposes, working alongside Supergirl, who still remained loyal to him. Ha'el set out to build a device capable of resurrecting Krypton, although he was momentarily deceived into thinking that Superman had a change of heart. Ha'el eventually saw right through the hero's deception. He defeated Superman and even the Justice League, just in time to activate his device, which would allow him to go back in time and save Krypton's obliteration. But unfortunately, building this time machine-like device would consume a staggering amount of energy, ultimately extinguishing Earth's sun, thus destroying the entire planet. And Supergirl went along with this plan blindly until Wonder Woman spoke sense into her, until she realized that the resurrection of Krypton would entail the destruction of Earth, which finally led her to take a firm stand against Ha'el. Now, Ha'el forced her to make an agonizing choice between the two planets she considered home, and in a pivotal moment, Supergirl seemingly sided with Ha'el, lulling him into a false sense of security. However, she cunningly seized the opportunity to use a piece of kryptonite to defeat him once and for all. Ha'el's defeat resulted in his being drawn into one of the temporal rifts created by his own machine, propelling him back several decades in time to Krypton's past, where he was discovered by a young Jor-El. Awakening from a 6-month coma, Ha'el found himself trapped in the past, where he unearthed the painful truth of his origin. He came to realize that he was not a genuine kryptonite, but rather a clone, a creation stitched together from the genetic material of several individuals. This revelation ignited a deep-seated anger within him, stemming from the years of deception he had endured. Empowered by his psionic abilities, Ha'el fully grasped his identity as a clone and sought vengeance for the elaborate ruse. In an act of ruthless retribution, Ha'el targeted Jor-El, who had deceived him, and raised him as if he were a true Kryptonian. Ha'el's psionic power proved lethal as he ended Jor-El's life. With newfound determination, he took control of Krypton and set out to rewrite the planet's history, erasing the events that would lead to its eventual destruction. His initial goal of preserving Krypton had now shifted to conquering it, driven by the inherent betrayal he had suffered. Now, Ha'el's tyrannical reign extended to enslaving the entire planet's population, dealing harshly with anyone who dared to oppose him. However, the series of these actions had dire consequences, destabilizing the timeline and drastically altering Krypton's past. To rectify this temporal turmoil and preserve the present, the Oracle intervened, creating a separate timeline for Hell's Krypton. The Oracle then summoned Superman, Superboy, and Supergirl, assigning them the daunting task of traveling to different points in Hal's dimension's history to undo the damage he had wrought. In doing so, they sought to stop Hal once and for all, even though it meant accepting Krypton's ultimate destruction as an inevitable outcome. Through their collective efforts, the heroes managed to mend Hal's fractured timeline. In their climactic showdown, Superman employed his Frost Breath to target Hal's chronal strands, effectively severing his connection to the timeline, which trapped Hal in an eternal time loop, consigning him to a perpetual limbo, putting an end to his reign of terror and ensuring the preservation of the timeline. Before you guys jump to any conclusions about this character, it should be noted that Hal's perception of himself was marred by a dangerous delusion. He firmly believed that his actions were just and for the greater good, but in reality, he was an exceedingly brutal and tyrannical entity. He possessed a chilling willingness to sacrifice entire solar systems should it serve his ultimate goal. Manipulation and death were regular tools in his arsenal, deployed without hesitation against those who obstruct his path or even those he deemed as potential allies. Hal's most striking display of this manipulation was evident in his treatment of Supergirl, as he had artfully gained her trust, but his concern for her well-being was completely non-existent. In his eyes, she was a mere instrument to be wielded for the benefit of his own agendas. When confronted by individuals he could not manipulate, like Superman, Hal resorted to violence without even flinching. In addition to that, Hal's twisted xenophobia is particularly disturbing, as he had consistently offered to eliminate Superboy as a grotesque demonstration of devotion to his ideologies. His vehement belief that clones were abominations, reflecting the societal norms of Krypton, fueled his unrelenting mission to make both Superman and Supergirl as ruthless and cruel as he had become. Strikingly, he harbored no reservations about attempting to exterminate them when his attempts at indoctrination faltered. In his eyes, the human race was nothing more than primitive savages, and this contempt rendered him entirely capable of committing planetary genocide without an ounce of remorse. In essence, Hal epitomizes the archetype of the neutral evil, driven by an unwavering commitment to his personal objectives. The irony lies in the fact that a significant portion of his own people would view him as a monstrous aberration for his actions, despite his earnest desire to return to Krypton and restore his world. Overall, Hal's complex character and motivations added depth to the Superman mythos during this storyline, as he became a frightening and morally ambiguous antagonist, driven by his skewed sense of duty and identity. Is Hal more powerful than Superman? Hal possesses a remarkable set of powers and abilities that stem from his unique genetic makeup, combining traits commonly associated with Kryptonians under a yellow sun with some extraordinary attributes that transcend the need for solar radiation. Much like his Kryptonian counterparts, Hal can absorb the radiation of a yellow sun, resulting in an expansive array of superhuman abilities. These include super strength, which appears even greater than the norm of Kryptonians, allowing him to engage both Superboy and Superman in a physical combat. His invulnerability is also heightened, as he has exhibited minimal damage after enduring attacks from other superpowered beings. Apart from his extremely photographic memory, Hal's super stamina permits him to exert himself at peak capacity for extended durations before fatigue toxins accumulate. Plus, flight is effortless for him, and he possesses super speed, surpassing even Superman's capabilities. Furthermore, his sensory abilities encompass super hearing, heat vision, X-ray vision, telescopic vision, microscopic vision, super breath capable of generating hurricane winds, and freeze breath, which can chill the air to freezing temperatures. Hal's total recall allows him to remember memories with exceptional precision, and his intellect appears to be significantly enhanced. What sets Hal apart are his unique abilities that are not dependent on yellow sun radiation. It should be noted that teleportation is among his extraordinary talents, granting him the power to appear and vanish at will. He can even teleport entire structures, like the Fortress of Solitude. Alongside that, Hal wields telekinesis, enabling him to manipulate objects with his mind, create force fields, and exert fine control at a molecular level. This fine control allowed him to deconstruct Superboy to understand his composition, He's also a telepath within his repertoire, demonstrated by his ability to give Supergirl the gift of English communication and create illusions. Ha'el's capacity for astral projection permits him to reach others when he cannot accompany them physically, akin to using holograms. We also witness his matter manipulation capabilities, as evidenced by his ability to shrink Supergirl to send her to the bottled city of Kandor. Lastly, Ha'el also acquired the power of chronokinesis, granting him the ability to traverse through time at will. He can even exist in multiple eras simultaneously, although this seemingly exacts a considerable toll on him. Although he has been overpowered by Superman on numerous occasions, Ha'el has many attributes that Kal-El himself is not quite acquainted with. In summary, Ha'el's extensive and diverse array of powers, ranging from enhanced Kryptonian attributes to his unique telepathic, telekinetic, teleportation, and time-manipulating abilities, make him a multifaceted character strong enough to even take on the Man of Steel within the DC Universe. Marvelous verdict. Ha'el had initially emerged as a figure poised to become part of the Superman family, as his unique background, with a blend of Kryptonian powers, coupled with extraordinary telepathic, telekinetic, and time-manipulating abilities, really set him apart from traditional Superman villains. His presence in the New 52 era marked a significant shift in the dynamics of Superman, Supergirl, and Superboy, as they found themselves united against a common antagonist, showcasing one of the first instances of their collaboration during this period. Despite Ha'el's potential to occupy a distinctive space in Superman's rogues gallery, he faced significant challenges in maintaining his place in the comic book narrative. Plus, his character was built upon a foundation of cloned qualities, almost bearing resemblance to Bizarro, combined with the archetype of the evil Kryptonian villain reminiscent of Zod. However, his actions ultimately led to his own downfall, as his ruthless and uncompromising approach alienated him from the very heroes he hoped to unite with. As a result, Ha'el slipped into relative obscurity within the pages of the DC Universe, serving as a reminder that despite his intriguing powers and complex origin, he failed to stand the test of time as a truly iconic adversary for Superman. Now that we have come to the very end of this video, what are your thoughts on this Superman adversary? Please let us know in the comment box below.